Big T 49.99 MauLer. Been a while since I played it, but what all was wrong with Bioshock Infinite? I thought it was okay, but it sounds like it was on a level of The Acolyte and Secret Invasion. Also, wonder what happened with Judas, supposed to be Bioshock in space.
All right, Gary, give me a time limit here.
You don't have a time limit.
Judas. What the hell happened to that?
That's still being made. You know that Little Platoon's working on that. You know that, right?
No.
He's on the writing team, so it's coming. It's just it's coming. It's one of those sort of situations.
Hail Little Platoon, by the way.
Yeah. So just name an aspect of video games that make them special and wonderful and amazing as a thing, and Bioshock Infinite pisses all over it as far as I'm concerned. It's especially bad if you play Bioshock and then Infinite, but it just is like a depressing, horrible sequel to a game that had so much more to say. Bioshock, the original, as a general foundational criticism of like different political systems being engaged and all the flaws of them in the package of a fantasy world that I think is just ripe for an adaptation, but they're never going to do it right anyway, so I probably shouldn't want that. And the setting that's just wonderful. It feels like Infinite is everything wrong with like what used to be sequelitis back in the day. That's what we would say when a bad sequel comes out. Terminator 3 is a classic sequelitis. I don't know, just all different kinds of franchises where it's like we'll do it again, and it's just going to be weaker, and it's like the juice is coming further and further out. But this one was particularly awful, and I think part of why I hate it as well is because it's just hailed as a masterpiece since it came out fucking indefinitely by everybody. It's like, but I might even pick it, and I'd be curious if I could convince like Az on something like this that it's actually the beginning of the end for gaming. Bioshock Infinite, the era it came out, it is such a grand celebration of fucking nothing. There is no worthwhile mechanic in that game.
Is Infinite the one that went down the big racism route?
Yeah, so Columbia is the city in the sky, because they were like, hey, what's the opposite of a city underwater? In the sky, I guess. It is completely beyond unfeasible. Like, it's so fucking absurd. They have the entire city is fucking floating through technology built in times earlier than, I can't remember exactly when it's set, but it's just impossible. But it's like, fine, whatever, fantasy, fine, it's floating, whatever. The whole game, if you watch Matthew Matos's video, it's so scared to be critical of like presenting a genuine racist that they won't use any slurs or discriminatory like significant language. They'll just have them be like, you guys are worse than us, and it'll just be a bunch of black people like in the game. The story is convoluted fucking nonsense. They introduced the time traveling aspect and the portals with Elizabeth. As soon as you dig in, anyone does. Whole story falls the fuck apart. They're just trying to shock you and surprise you. Be like, oh, this character is this character. This is this. This goes there. And it's all inspired by Bioshock 1 having done Would You Kindly, which is one of the most like famously beloved twists in all of gaming. It's fucking wonderful. Not just because of the fact that it matches the whole story of what you've understood at that point, but it does something that only video games can do, which is your actions as the player have now been contextualized along and into the story. It's threaded together. Every time Atlas gave you a command in that game, throws on a, would you kindly, do this, and you're just as a player like, sure thing, Atlas, I love you. Fun Irish guy. And then at the end, he's like, every time you did that, you were mind controlled into doing it, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like it gives you that nice feeling, syncs you up. The Infinite was like, we're going to do the same thing. You were playing as the villain the whole time. And you're just sort of like, huh? What does that even mean? Like, how does that, what? And it's just like, and you have to go back to when he got baptized and kill him, so all the multiverse versions of him never become evil. I remember when I first saw it, it was kind of like DLJ, where I was just like, what just happened? How do I make sense of any of this? And then the more I thought about it, the more it crumbled. Now, I could go on forever about how bad the fucking story is, but the mechanics are where you need to actually stay. All the gunplay, it just plays the fucking same. Again, comparing it to any good FPS or Bioshock, you've got all these alternate firing modes on all these alternate guns. They're all, I really love the handcrafting, messy roundiness of the first Bioshock, the way that the mods attach to the different guns. In Bioshock Infinite, it's like, here's rifle, here's carbine, here is pistol that shoots slightly, and they're all a fucking same sniper rifle, and it's just all generic, all feels, and I'm pretty sure they run on similar ammo or something. I can't remember the ammo types in that game, but extremely uninventive and boring as shit. And then the plasmids, the classic in Bioshock. You got the run of all the elements, how they'll affect, do you want the ice so it slows or freezes so you can deal with other enemies first? Do you want the fire so that you're doing damage over time while you're attacking with your guns? Do you want the electric so that it can spread between enemies, or it can freeze them temporarily and it can activate? And then all the environmental stuff, setting the environment on fire or freezing it to stop people from doing certain things, electrifying the water on the floor, setting oil on fire, all these like really fun but fundamental interactions with the environment and everything. Bioshock Infinite was like, hey, what about like a squid arm that like pops out of the floor and knocks them over? Or what about the crows one? And you test out a couple of them. Like I think bucking bronco is one of the first ones they give you, but crows just dominates. It's just you throw a murder of crows on people and they attack them. They can freeze huge enemies and deal loads of damage. And I just remember being like, what the fuck is the point of this? Especially with the guns just headshot, 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 and you get this bonus that sparks combos between all the killing of all these different enemies. And you just run through the whole game like that. And I remember being like, when do the mechanics come in? When do I get to like do something different or interesting ever? And the whole game plays the fucking same. And then I'd love to get into a rant about Big Daddies versus the Handymen. Big Daddies are some of the like most memorable fights because the game encourages you to take full advantage of prepping the entire area. Again, I don't know who exactly I'm appealing to other than Az here, because he's probably the only person who's played Bioshock, but obviously including chat as well. But you can set mines, you can do trap wires, you can, depending on the Big Daddy, organize, because you got the Rosies that are ranged, and then you've got the bouncers that are always trying to get you physically. So you can try and run them around the area or something. Set up a whole bunch of barrels that tend to just be in the environment. If you put them all in one place, draw the Big Daddy to it and blow it up, you'll do immense damage. And then, of course, it's like you need armor piercing on every one of your weapons. If you do anti-personnel shots, they're not going to do anywhere near as much damage to the Big Daddy suits. And then, of course, killing them, you get the little sisters, and you get to play heroic and save them, or you get to play evil and just suck the fucking soul out of them to get all of the Adam to be able to buy more power. It's a really nice... I'm not going to say it's the most revolutionary thing ever. I'm not even saying that Bioshock is a particularly great game. I really like it. But Infinite was like, what if you just have this fucking hyper-aggressive giant man running at you and slapping you constantly, and you can barely do any prep because of all the weapon mechanics I just went through being like completely non-existent. I remember those driving me insane. And then I guess to try and not spend 10 years doing this, you got Elizabeth, who I remember when the game launched, it was like, this is the greatest companion ever. And I remember direct comparisons with Resident Evil 4 pissed me off. He was like, see Resident Evil 4? This is how you do it. It's like, no, it's not. Elizabeth's not even a companion. She's not even there. She can't be killed. She can't be captured. She just provides you ammo every once in a while. All that is regenerating ammo. You don't even, her being there is just nothing. As much as you can shit on Ashley for being annoying, it's hard to make.
I'll hear no bad words about Ashley. Thank you.
Fair enough. It's hard to be too critical of a system like they have it in Resident Evil 4 without also changing it such that it doesn't exist as it does. She needs to be able to be vulnerable and capturable if you want to capture that kind of gameplay. No one likes escort missions. I'm just trying to say Resident Evil 4, I think, did it rather well the way that they did it. Bioshock Infinite did not solve it. It removed it. And I honestly think a lot of it came down to the fact that people thought Elizabeth was hot. I was like, yeah, that's fine, but it's nothing mechanically. The whole game has nothing mechanically. The setting was uninspired as shit. They just flipped Rapture. The bad guys were complete crap. All the dialogue was crap. The world building was crap. It's and everything about it to me is just, we need to do Bioshock again. And they couldn't come up with fucking anything, and they rushed it, and out it came as this slithery slime that I do want to make a video on someday, because it gets me very passionately angry. Because the one thing I have not talked about is the Burial at Sea DLC, where they go to Rapture and they argue that Elizabeth was the one who went across fucking dimensions and time travel and shit, and she's the one that set in motion the events of Bioshock. Which I was just like, you can go and fuck off. I swear to God, when they do. It is no different for anyone who needs translation than sending Rey back in time to tell Obi-Wan to go and get Luke. It's the most like, fuck off. She's the one that fucks with the Big Daddies to get Suchong killed, who's like the father of the Big Daddy system. She's the one that gets Fontaine involved in a bunch of shit. I hate that DLC so much. It's like, get the hell away from the story that I actually really love and is just fine without you. Because I think they wanted Elizabeth to be like a major thing, because the fans responded really well to it, but there's nothing there. No substance. It's all shit. Anyway,
the only thing
that answers your question.
The only thing I got out of that is women need to be more vulnerable to be captured.
Exactly.
You know what? You ask Mauler a question, he gives you an answer. So
yeah.
So damn
so I asked you
straight.
for a time limit.
I said no time limit.